anything? Does that actually, is that real? Is that a real thing? Does Trump have this capability? Well, he doesn't really have to have any of those things. He could just simply lie and his fans will eat it up. Now, on that note, let's go to CNN. Let's see what the they're talking about.
I'm sure that there was a fair amount of fear and expectation as to what was to come, and certainly preparation. They had time.
Dude, this is QVC shit, by the way. Like, look at this. Look at we're jerking off our B-1B Lancer bomber, capable of Mach 1.2, unlimited range with refueling, holds 24 cruise missiles. This is literally no different than like the what was it, Brian, whatever the when he was doing, like, look at the awesomeness of our weapons.
Taken
look at the
hits
awesome
before, they've lost personnel before, and they.
All right, everyone stay with us. I want to bring in a key Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Pat Ryan of New York. He's a U.S. Army veteran who served in Iraq. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us on this very important news. We now know that the Pentagon is saying they've struck more than 85 targets in Iraq and Syria at the start of
Pat
what
Ryan
they
of New
say
York,
will likely
give you
be
the
a series of longer-term, perhaps larger-scale strikes on these militias that are backed by Iran. There are no strikes, as we know, inside Iran tonight, but Iran has some extremely powerful proxies outside of Iraq and Syria, namely Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen. Do you think that there's a chance that they ratchet things up as a result of what's happening right now?
I think it was a really important decision by the president to specifically strike the IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, and the Quds Force. These are really the puppeteers.
They're doing this is the most precise. Guys, we are so precise. So get ready for the libtards on Reddit and all over Twitter to like defend these acts, to be like, dude, it's the most precise. Fuck around and find out. Fafo, dude. Fafo. It's like, guess what, dude? You don't have health care. You're gonna die alone with a shit ton of medical debt. Fuck around and find out. That's right. But hey, guess what, dude? Some fucking dude that also has, the same class interest as you flew out there and blew up entire neighborhoods with like other brown people living in those neighborhoods. And they did it at the behest of the military industrial complex. And you didn't even see a penny of that. But hey, at least you feel good because America's dick's big, right?
Congressman, when you look again at what was struck by these bombers in Iraq and Syria, some 85 targets, 125 precision munitions. You touched on it off the top. What else do you think the Defense Department should be doing in the coming days in terms of other targeting?
Well, we've been getting regularly briefed on this. Of course, can't share the full details from a classification perspective, but there's no shortage of targets that our incredible intelligence community and DoD have developed, continue to develop, to give the president additional options. And I think it's all about getting that calibration right. I think this seems to be, from what we know, one of, if not the most significant.
It's pretty funny also that like they literally recognize, at least there's enough people in the State Department that recognize that like America's actions such as this one greatly contribute to the Iranian influence in the region growing. Why are there so many IRGC positions in Iraq and Syria is a question one must ask itself. It is almost identical to why the Palestinian population basically supports Hamas unconditionally whenever Israel is fucking attacking them. How do you think this happens? How? The only time de-escalation has occurred in this region is usually through collaboration. Collaboration with the Iranian forces. That's it. The idea that these guys are like all barbarian, bloodthirsty monsters that cannot be reasoned with is a continuation of the dehumanization propaganda that Israel engages in whenever they talk about Palestinians. This is a whole ass state. You're out of your mind at that point.
In the facts. So this is all linked is really what I'm saying. And what needs to happen, number one, in Gaza is a return of the hostages, our American citizens and Israeli citizens, and a real defeat of Hamas. That's why, by the way, we need to even more urgently get this funding flowing to our partners, not only in Israel, but in Ukraine and Taiwan. The world is watching. Putin is watching, as well as the Iranian regime, and our allies are watching too, what our resolve is. And so this is an important step to signify our resolve.
Yeah, without question, it is all interconnected, and there are a lot of parties that are watching. Congressman Pat Ryan of New York, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I want to get straight back to our Oren Lieberman at the Pentagon. Oren, you have an update.
Yeah. America keeps going, oh, dude, we got to destroy the Ayatollah. We got to destroy the Ayatollah. And then they do everything in their mother power, basically, to make this a popular dude. These guys have one speed. The Iranian theocracy has one speed, and that is, America, we're the guys who are going to do our very best to America up. They got nothing else, dude. That's what they're riding for. That's what they got. That's the only thing they have. That's all you're doing. And Israel, ironic because many of those people also understand Israel as an extension of the United States of America. It makes no goddamn sense unless you believe that permanent war is the only way that we can have some semblance of an economy. Every single person that constantly talks about it, like, oh my God, like the Iranian regime, we have to deal with the Iranian regime. Yeah, let's put sanctions on Iran. Yeah, let's make the conditions worse for Iranian people. Well, they recognize that you are the reason why the conditions are bad. So now all of a sudden it's your fault again. So if you understand how the situation works for the Palestinians in Gaza, for example, and you're like not shocked why the Palestinians in Gaza don't shit on Hamas, but instead hate Israel way more than they hate Hamas, then you should understand it is an identical parallel with respect to our dumb Americans who are celebrating this right now, not realizing that, like, we are the Israel of the situation. Israel is the America in that situation. This is how you let extremist factions continue to dominate permanently, because you are objectively worse than them. To an American, we don't understand that. People go, what do you mean, Hassan, we're worse than the Iranian regime? They kill people. They kill protesters. Okay, so does America. America goes over there to kill motherfuckers over there. They're killing their own people. There is no circumstance, unless someone is like directly related to the State Department or some shit, unless they're like literally like a part of the MEK or whatever, there's no world in which someone who lives in Iran is going to look at that and go, I know these bombs are being dropped on me, let's say, right? Which we're not bombing Iran directly. Or Syria or Iraq. When you see American bombs being dropped in your neighborhood to blow up a munitions depot, no Syrian or Iraqi person is going to look at that and go, well, you know who I hate the most, though, in this situation? Iran. No, they're going to hate you. You're the one bombing them. Why the fuck wouldn't they hate you? It makes the most sense to hate you. From the American perspective, they look at it and they go, well, what do you mean? Why do they hate America? They hate us because they ain't us, right? It's like, no, they hate us because we killed them. We destabilized them. We killed them. We're awful. We're monstrous. And then we celebrate it on television like this. Americans get scared when you see like the Iranian parliament like burning an American flag or burning an Israeli flag, and it's like, why wouldn't they do that? Of course they're going to do that. Look at what we're doing.
Forces, their reasoning so as not to embarrass the Iraqi government. But another group that has carried out multiple attacks on U.S. forces, the Al-Nujaba movement, have said they'll keep attacking U.S. forces. So there's no one clear answer about where Iranian-backed militias go from here. That's something we'll have to see, especially after these broader strikes. Do they have the...
That's reductive. The Iraqi Syrian MGs were in favor of us when we were cleansing ISIS. Yeah. You know what's funny about that? You said that's reductive, except you know who else was cleansing ISIS? The Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the subsequent proxy militias that they created. So what do you mean? Yeah, exactly. The notion that like we welcome them as heroes in our country is a silly one, because no, they did not welcome Americans as liberators. They see America as the responsible party for ISIS to exist to begin with.
Of targeting that could come in the next few days, the next few weeks, this multi-stage operation that they've been talking about for several days now. Would you expect that to broaden out beyond this area that we've been talking about, that this border between Iraq and Syria, to elsewhere in the Middle East?
I think it's possible that it could expand a little bit beyond where we are. So we talked a little bit earlier about the Euphrates River Valley being kind of the center of this operation. At least that appears to be the case at the moment. What I was thinking about as we were putting the maps up on, in the graphics on the screen here. Yeah,
that's not true. The U.S. was not welcome. The
other thing that
and
we
Syrians
could potentially do.
Iraqis and Syrians 10,000% supported regional forces, not the U.S. I'm a fucking Iraqi. I know. Of course they didn't welcome the American forces. The American forces did the exact same that the Israeli occupying forces doing to that population. Here's the sad reality. The veterans in this chat will unironically defend that and will tell you that that is what I'm saying is true. The veterans that you know, ask them. Maybe some of them will be honest. Maybe others will lie to you. But the reality is, we were the Israeli occupying force of Iraq and Afghanistan. it's hard to conceptualize this as an American citizen. So like I have no analog. I have no way of like helping you conceptualize this level of like violence and fear. Because like if I tell you